नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानंदशूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहाय. Good morning, children. Good morning, children. Okay, thank you. Renuji, Principal Ji, and other teachers, all students, the teachers sitting there, everywhere. My namaskar to everybody. My name is Swami Parayanananda. I am a member of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission established by Swami Vivekananda in about 1897. How many years till now? Who will tell me first? Are you able to hear me at the end? If the last row is able to hear me, can you please raise your hands? Last row this side? Yeah. How many years till now from 1897? In 1897. Yeah, okay. At least some are awake. Okay. You know why I came here today? What is today? I need response. I know you don't need mic. You are children. You have a lot of strength. On your shoulders is the responsibility of tomorrow's India. Yes? What is today? National? If a teacher asks you a question in classroom, how do you respond? Like this, Emma say? Or how do you respond? You can raise your hand. Yeah, see? Is that not a logical and very reasonable method and a more disciplined method? Raise your hands, whoever wants to speak and then speak. Yes? Yes. What's today? You raise your hand. Yeah, please. What is today? National Unity Day. What should we do now? Your friend answered me. What should we do? No, for a good morning from you, I have to ask twice. For an applause also, I have to ask. Do I have to? You know, when you applaud, what happens is, you open up. And applause is not for that person. It is more so for yourself, that you will recognize a good quality in others. Yes? You're all there. Why only she could raise her hand first, and then she took interest, initiative, and was proactive, and then she rose up and then gave the answer. Though you all could do, I know that, but you did not do. So why don't you recognize the fact and then applause? Is it good? Is it good to do that? Then what happens is that good quality understands, if you applause, that there is an invitation from your side also, and that good quality passes into your heart. And that good quality, okay, you understand? We need to develop. If we need to develop individually, collectively as a nation also, the first quality we need to have is openness. Yes or no? How many of you will disagree with me? Raise your hands. How many of you will agree with me? Raise your hands. Yes. Thank you. Now today, for some time I will speak to you about the unity of India. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's birthday is today. He is a great national leader. Our principal madam has told you about him very elaborately. And then, unity of what? Unity of what? What is the meaning of unity? Collectiveness, etc. We are all united, okay? If we are not united, what happens? What happens if you are not united? Anybody please answer. Yeah. We fight each other. Yeah, there is a mic. You know, I'm just trying to make it a little little lively and then I can...
We fight with each other and battle with each other every time and we don't like each other.
Yes. Thank God you applauded without my asking. Here is a point I will applaud for you. Why? Because you learned in the first instance when I told you that you need to applause, and in the second instance when somebody answered without even reminding from my side, without needing a reminder from my side, you applauded. For that, I am applauding. Okay? So we are learning. We will learn when we are alert or when we are asleep. When we are alert. Do you know what is one of the mottos of America? Eternal vigilance is you need to fill the gap. It's a one-line statement. It's a motto, like Satyameva Jayate in our government, like that. American government has a very good line as its motto. And I am telling you the first part of it. It is eternal vigilance is fill the gap. Is the price of liberty. You know what they are proud of? America is proud of what? Answers. Quickly. America is proud of what?
Of their unity.
Of their unity. Okay? Then, any other answer? Very quickly. Nobody? Yes, here. You stand up and then start speaking. If I hear, that is enough. You don't need to wait for the mic.
Their liberty.
Liberty. Right? Because there is a statue of liberty there. Yes or no? Very good. Now, one other point I am telling you, if somebody attempted something, so he or she need not be right, but we can applaud for the participation. Do you know, if you are not making mistakes, you are not really learning, you are not really doing anything new every day. Mistakes are what? Take you forward. Mistakes are lessons, in fact, which you have to learn. Each person in this world has done one or two mistakes, definitely, at least in his life. Yes or no? So, there is no point to say that only if he is correct, he or she is correct, only if I agree with the other person, I am going to applaud, I am going to love that person, I am going to like that person. These are the things which are making the world divisive. What are the things? That I don't like that person because he doesn't dress like me. I don't like that person because they don't believe in the God whom I believe. We have a God, suppose, and we see God in one form, in one name, and we want everybody on earth to believe in the God who has got that same name and that name form. Otherwise, we think he is wrong. And he is wrong, he is not fit to live. Yes or no? Are we not thinking like that? In the world's perspective, not you, you are children. Okay? Right? So that has caused more bloodshed in the world's history than any other cause. That my God is right, my God is superior, your God is inferior, he is no God at all. Unless you accept me, my God and my philosophy, you are not even fit to live. Okay? This has never been in India. That is the pride of India. What is the pride of India? Of America it is liberty. You told me. What is the pride of India? Unity. I'll tell you how. That is why they have a statue of liberty. We have a statue of... We are going to have... The process has started to have a statue of what? Statue of unity. Whose statue is that? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. In the following way. When we had independence, when the British gave us independence, they said there can be a country called India, there can be a country called Pakistan. There were more than 560 princely states, different states. For each of the states there were Rajas, kings, okay? Like small states. All the India map you see, it was divided into more than 560 states, okay? And each state had got a king and a kingdom, etc., etc. They necessarily not be acceding to India. They can be free. According to British condition, they can be free. They can rule themselves. But the task of uniting all these princely states into one India, the map which we are seeing, but for Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, we would not even have such a wonderful map. You know, in portions in between Hyderabad and so many other states would have been another countries, different countries. Do we like India as a whole or not? Should India be as a whole or different small parts? Whole. That whole picture, that whole map was because of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's sacrifice. I'll tell you how difficult that task was. That task was given to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel by Gandhi, saying that, you know, the task at hand is so great, so difficult, that no other person in India can do. You, the Iron Man of India, only you can do it, so you please do it. What is that? Unifying all these princely states into one India. The India which we know today. Okay. Let us compare this with some other countries. Italy, at one point of time in 19th century, it was 9 states actually. All speak Italian. They have one language, one culture, one race, one religion, one lifestyle, one literature, one history. Everything is one. But there were 9 different states, all speaking Italian language. But you know, to unite this country as one Italy, it took 23 years of intense struggle. 23 years to unite all these 9 states into one Italy. Okay? And then if you come to Germany, there were 39 states. Okay? And all same color of skin, you know. In America, blacks got rights. Do you know Martin Luther King Jr.? Martin Luther King Jr., who know? Raise your hands. Who heard his name? Yeah. He fought for blacks' rights. You know who are blacks? Blacks is not a religion, just a color of their skin. In America and these countries, persecution and discrimination was so much that if you are black, you are different, you are inferior. If you are white, you are superior. This kind of crazy ideas. This India never had. Did you ever hear that in India, just because of the color of the person's skin, he is being persecuted or discriminated against? Never. But in America and many other, South Africa, you know, Gandhi's movement, etc., if you study history. So, in Germany, these 39 states were there. All of them had the same race, same language, same religion, same color of the skin. Everything is same literature, same history. But to unite all these 39 states into one Germany, it took 9 years of bloodletting, war, and tens of thousands of people were killed in these wars. It took 9 years of such war to make into these 39 states into one Germany, unifying into one Germany. But whereas in India, as I told you, how many princely states were there? More than 560 princely states were there. How many castes could have been caste? You know caste. How many different types of castes could have been there in the whole 560 states? So many, innumerable, you can't tell. And how many languages, you can't tell. So many languages, so many races, so many people with different civilizations, different history. All these things, different religion, different color, all these people. But do you know how much time it took to unify all these states, 560 princely states, into one India? Guess? Any guess? Are you able to understand English? I don't think DAV is so bad. Please answer me. Any guess? Just 15 months. In 15 months, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, one man. So many people say one man can't do anything. But only one man, the Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, could unite more than 560 states into one big, huge country with great strength and unity as its base. And all of these people had different languages, belonging to different religions, different castes, different races, and so many differences were there. We all feel, whether you are in Delhi, whether in Andhra Pradesh, whether in Kerala, whether in Punjab, whether in West Bengal, wherever you are, don't we feel one, that we are all Indians? Yes or no? Do you take pledge every day? India is my country, all Indians are my brothers and sisters, I love my country. Do you take the pledge every day? Do we say that we are all Delhiites, we take pride in our Delhi? No. In Bengal they don't say we are Bengalis, we take pride in our Bengali culture, etc. Definitely they can take pride in Bengali culture, but primarily they are Indians. This we have. And the other countries don't have that as much as we do. That is the pride of India, and that we are celebrating today. Every year from today, October 23rd, October 31st will be the National Unity Day, that is why. And we need to understand this because there is so much of, bad intentions by different countries to debrand India. What is debranding? You know what is branding? You know what is hard power? Military power. Which country is the best in the world? Which country is the best in the world? You know, I've gone to many schools, many colleges, people are more active, they had more louder voice than you have. You need to tell me which is the best country in India. How do you determine which is the best country in the world? Some people say, whichever country has got most military might, military power, that is the best country. Is it so? That was many days ago. In World War I, World War II, Germany was a great country of great military might. Nobody could stand before Germany and Japan. That is called hard power. That hard power days have gone. Nowadays it is soft power. What is soft power? Do you know that? By culture, by your values, you conquer other countries, you influence other countries. Do you know what? When 1400 AD, a Chinese ambassador came to India. He said for 1400 years, India conquered China without even sending one soldier or a missionary from India to China. India conquered China psychologically, spiritually, culturally. We are thoroughly influenced by India. There is no country like India because, do you know, for your information, till 1750, do you know which are the richest countries in the whole world till from 1 AD, year 1 AD to 1750, which are the real, richest countries in the world? Do you know that? India and China. For 1600 years, India was the first first country. America, England, their GDP is only less than 1.5%. India and China together were contributing to more than 60% of world's GDP, world's production, world savings, everything. India and China, the competition was always between India and China. India stood first for 1600 years. Only in one century, in 17th century, China took over India, and then again India won China for 50 years, 1750. And from 1750 to 1950, what was that period? Almost 1947. What was that period? Colonial rule in India. And because of that colonial rule, for no fault of us, we lost out to all these countries. These people came to our country, enslaved us, took all our money, wealth, everything to their countries, and they projected their countries as rich countries. If a thief takes your 1 lakh rupees and says he is richer by 1 lakh, is it not laughable? Yes, it is our wealth actually. And then we are rising again after 1947, after our independence also, we are rising very greatly. Do you know, NIC, National Intelligence Commission of America, which is one of the premier, like CIA, which is very, very great institution of intelligence, etc. They studied every history, they studied every country's history, economic potentiality, every potentiality with great equipment, great sophistication, and they came out with a result that in 2030, there will be only 3 major powers in the world. You are with me? How many are you with me? Are you interested in this lecture? Please raise your hands. How many are you? Very good. Now listen. In 2030, this is a future prediction not by simple people, ordinary people. With great amount of sophistication and modern intelligence, everything, they used everything, satellites, they used every kind of study, economic, historical, everything. And then they came out with a conclusion that in 2030, there are going to be only 3 major powers in the whole world. Do you know who they are? It's America, China and India. In the whole world. We are rising. This 2014 is just the China. That is the prediction. That is the projection. We need to feel proud about it. But what is happening, if you see in the media, if you see in newspaper, everywhere India, India's culture, India's ancestors, India's history, everything is being debranded, insulted, and then we are made to think that our ancestors were brutes, just poets, etc., etc. We had no culture, all that. Okay, that is wrong. Why am I telling you this is, there is, soft power. I was talking about hard power and soft power. What is soft power? America, if they have got atom bombs, nuclear bombs, can they always threaten other countries that, if you don't listen to me, I will put an atom bomb on you? If they keep threatening, what will the world think about America? They will say that America is a rowdy, America is a ruffian, or something like that. Yes. They don't want such a bad image. They want to rule the world, conquer the world, dominate the world by soft power. What are the soft powers? Mickey Mouse. Yes, you all like Mickey Mouse? And Disneyland, Coca-Cola, Stanford. These are the soft powers by which they are projecting that these are the greatest premier institutions in the whole world, and because of this, and also we have so much military power, but we don't want to use it for violence, use it on the other countries, because we are peace-loving people. We are friends of everybody. This is how they are trying to project. Do you know, even now in America there is 9% people who are poor, below poverty line. Do you know that? Even in America. America is a rich country. Yes? America, everything is developed, right? But you never heard of this. 7% of the population, these poor people, they are getting food tickets, free food tickets from government. Only by that they are living. Do you know that? 51% of the parents are single parents. Do you know that? I don't want to tell all these things before children, but then there is huge cultural degeneration in all these countries, not just America, and there are many other countries. Compared to that, do you know, India has got, one of the greatest assets of India, family system. We have family here. There, whose family is there? You got 2, 3 fathers, stepfathers, etc. I don't want to go into all those details. So we need to be proud of all this. This is our Indian culture. This family system has made us save a lot of money. Family, mother leads the family in economic wise. Mother decides how much to spend and how much not to spend. Right? And because of that, because of the far view of these mothers, we save a lot. They earn for 5 days, 2 days, they call it weekend getaway. They are working, and then they are thinking that it is a labor, it is just a drudgery, and then I am working for somebody else. They don't enjoy the work at all. They want to, as much as they can, they want to avoid that work. But they are working only because they are getting money, and once they get money for 5 days, 2 days they spend completely, finished. No future vision at all, because there is no family, there is nobody to take care of. They think they can live up. And then when they become infirm, suppose a person loses his job, do you know who takes care? America and all these countries, government takes care. Do you know if a person is a handicap, who takes care? Do you know? Government takes care. But in India, if there is an unemployed person, who will take care? Family takes care. If there is a person who is infirm, who is handicapped, who takes care? Family here. There, families are nationalized and government is privatized. Bridge building, all these things are supposed to be government's work. They are giving to private people. Roads, etc. All defense industry is all privatized. Do you know why so many wars are there? If there is no war, there is no manufacturing of bombs is possible. Bombs and tankers and jets, etc., etc. And these companies who establish these war equipment factories, etc., they will go losses. They should not go for losses. So what should be there? War must be there. When war is there, only then demand can be there for all these bombs and bullets and tankers, etc. So they try to somehow create war in some part of the world, always, and then they trying to sustain their economy. Anyway, these are all maybe a little high notch for you. I'll tell you quickly some other small statistics and then tell you. In Sri Lanka, there are 2 languages. What are those? Sinhalese and Tamil, right? And Because they are not able to unite, just these people of two languages, two different languages, they are not able to unite, and for 40 years there was a great massacres of people. For 40 years there was great unrest in the country. Only bombing, tens of thousands and lakhs of people have died. Just war. Okay, and only recently they are relatively peace. But if in India, how many major languages are there? 22 major languages are there. Do we ever quarrel? Just because you belong to another language, you belong to another place, do we quarrel? No. You see, there is Pakistan. Pakistan was divided when India was given freedom, right? It was divided. It was divided into two various parts. What are those? Now Bangladesh, it was East Pakistan then, yes? But just within 25 years of its Pakistan's formation, East Pakistan had to be separated from Pakistan and it became a new country. Why? Because there is a Punjabi language people and then there are Bengali language speaking people in Pakistan, these areas, and then these people would always quarrel with these other people, and the quarrel was so much, 1 crore people were driven into Indian borders from Bangladesh side, at East Pakistan side. So many problems were there, they had to be divided. Just because of these small differences. But in India, have you heard of something like that? Ever? No. How great we are then. We need to be proud of that. If we are not proud of India, we Indians are not proud of India, nobody can change us. If we are proud of India, we can take India to higher states, greater levels, and only then we can rebrand India. Soft power. What is the world media trying to say? India is a country of killers and rapists and then no culture, etc., etc. They don't know how to live, how to spend all this. This is what world media is telling you every day. We are losing our pride. They want to strike us there. We need to debrand that and we need to rebrand our India. We need to understand the greatnesses of our India and then project ourselves in that way. Belgium, Belgium? The country is so small that it will be like two or three districts in our Andhra Pradesh. That's small. In that there are two different areas, Walloons and Flemish. These are two different regions. And then Dutch speaking people and French speaking people. These two people are not able to unite, and for 2 whole years, they could not form a government at all. You see, in Yugoslavia, there was a country called Yugoslavia, and now within 20 years, last 20 years, it became into so many pieces that you can't tell how many pieces. Small countries. It has been divided. Why? In these 20 years, because they had no unity. And then there is Canada. It is one of the highly developed countries. Canada, where is Canada? Near Japan? Answer please, where is Canada? Canada is very highly developed, above America, right? So that country now is in dilemma and it is in great tension that country also may break into parts. Because there are two languages people, they are not able to unite. They are not able to couple up. Okay. In all these things, when you understand all this scenario, then you will understand the greatness of India. Okay. It is very important for us to understand this unity and then have pride in ourselves, and then only we can move forward. I hope you will all participate, you will all gain more and more knowledge, not just book knowledge. What will you do after studying, after 12th, what will you do? What will you become in life? Anybody? What is the ultimate goal of life? You are with me? What is the ultimate goal of life? You are all living. How many are living? Raise your hands please. Okay, the others are not. Okay. So what is the goal of life? I am concluding. 1 or 2 minutes, that's it. What is the goal of life? Yes.
To be successful in life.
To be successful in life. What is success? Define success. Otherwise, what is success? Because, among all these people, you successfully stood up and answered. Right? And right, that is all. This is also success. Right? So what is success depends on how you see it. I'm a monk. Am I a failure in life? No, right? Somebody is a doctor, but he wants to become the greatest doctor in the world. For him, only becoming greatest doctor in the world is success. But for somebody, becoming a doctor itself is a great success, right? So define your success. Define what you want to become in life. From now on, try to plan life. Yes, you want to say something.
Satisfaction.
Huh?
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction, yes, contentment. This is very important. Now, suppose there is a person who owns a Lamborghini car. You know what is Lamborghini car? Okay. Do you think he will not have old age? Do you think he will not have a disease in his life? Do you think he will not have death at all? No. Steve Jobs, do you know Steve Jobs? Who is Steve Jobs? You know Steve Jobs. Could Steve Jobs overcome cancer? No. Could Steve Jobs overcome old age and death? No. Nobody. But there are ways in Indian culture, long back, thousands of years back, we found out medicines for all these great diseases, basic diseases called old age, death and disease. Who is that? Do you know who found that? A famous personality. There are many. Buddha. Why? Buddha was a king, right? Buddha was a prince. Yes or no? But what he became later on? He became a monk and then he became an enlightened person. Buddha is a state of mind. Buddhahood. Gautama was his name. Siddhartha was his name. Okay. So that he became. Why he became? Why he became Buddha? What is the turning point? How many can tell me? He one day saw a person who had a disease. He one day saw another person who is old. He one day saw another person being taken away in a death procession. And then he questioned. We all see that every day. And then we all know somehow theoretically that we are going to face it. But we ignore these warnings. We ignore these lessons. And then we think with pride that no, death is for somebody else. I am going to live forever. I am going to do so much. Yes? That kind of ignorance Buddha did not have. He questioned everything and then he wanted to find answers. If that is inevitable, I will make it evitable. And then he found answers, he became Buddha. Now, we can become a Buddha. In you is sleeping a Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. In you is sleeping a Gandhi, a Vivekananda, a Buddha, a Jesus Christ. But it is in your own hands whether to manifest that Christness, whether to manifest that Buddhahood or Vivekanandahood or remain ordinary. How many of you remember your great-grandfather's name here? Great-grandfather's name. Very few, right? How many of you know Buddha? Buddha? How many of you know Jesus Christ? How many of you know Alexander? How many of you know Ashoka? How many of you know Vivekananda? You all know. Who are these? Are they your relatives? But your great-grandfather is your relative. His own blood is coursing through your veins today. Yes? His property has come to you. It will come to you. Why do you forget these people's names? Forget about what they did in life. You even forget their names, but you remember all this Buddha, Vivekananda, Ashoka. Why? After thousands of years. It is 3,000 years after Buddha. It is 2,000 years after Jesus Christ. Why do we remember? It is more than 120 years after Vivekananda. Why do we remember them now? Do you want to become one of them or one of your great-grandfathers, etc., whom your own family people will not remember? What do you want to become? What do you want to become? In which class do you want to see yourself? Yes. In that class of great people? Yes. Very good. That is what I propose that you all become, and you find out a way how to plan your life very time efficiently, labor efficiently. You know, the time, amount, labor and mind that we are spending each day, this we should understand, we should plan. If there is no plan for this building, what happens? If there is no plan for that building, it will collapse, right? So our life is building valuable or life more valuable? Which is more valuable? Our life is more valuable. But there when you construct a building, you have a decent, very particular plan about it, how many inches this particular pole must be there, and width, everything is there, curvature, everything. But we are not able to plan our lives so well. That is why we are losing out. Okay? I hope you will understand all these points. These are all great things. One last point I would like to tell you is, do you know what is the height of this Statue of Unity that is going to come up in Gujarat of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel? Do you know what? Yes. 182 meters. Okay? Do you know that means it is double the size of Statue of Liberty. Okay? I'll tell you, I'll read out the other taller statues names. The first is Christ the Redeemer. This is in Brazil. This is only 39.6 meters. Okay, that is famous. Christ like this. Okay, in Brazil you will find that. And there is the Motherland Calls. That is in Russia. This is 85 meters. Statue of Liberty in New York is 95 meters. Okay, there is another statue in Japan that is 120 meters. There is another temple called Spring Temple of Buddha that is in China, that is 153 meters. And our India is going to have the tallest statue in the whole world. What do you know about France? Now, if you remember, if I say word France, what do you remember first? What picture do you have? Eiffel Tower, right? So, people of whole world, when they remember France, they remember for Eiffel Tower. When they remember America, they will remember the Statue of Liberty. And now, within few years, when they hear the word India, what will they remember? Statue of Unity, the tallest statue in the whole world, tallest building almost. Okay, the tallest statue. So even America, China, Japan, everywhere they have to read in their GK books. Every child has to read about India. Why? Because we have that. This is branding India. This is developing soft power. This is first step, one of the very important steps the Honorable Prime Minister of India, the dynamic Honorable Prime Minister of India has taken up. We need to support. His power is not in the air. His power is, we are all his power. Right? He is the leader, we need to lead. And then we are fortunate to have such a visionary as a leader, such a young and dynamic person as a leader. And then hope we are all going to make this great rising of India a great successful and history. We are going to, you and me are going to live in a very, very highly developed India, which is going to stand as ideal for many other countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an eye-opening address, sir. Certainly we all realized that history is not meant for books and scoring marks. History is not meant just for appearing in the examination and to be discarded as an outdated subject. Students, history is to develop a perspective of your own nation. Today we understood and realized that what is it that makes India so unique, so characteristic and so incredible. If you remember, I began my address with citizens of a democratic sovereign republic. Students, this is not a making of India of one day. India is ever changing, ever evolving, and we all are part of this evolving India. You have a very important role to play. And this address by Sir was only meant to awaken in you a sense of responsibility, a sense of realization that you are not only spectators to the making of India. You are not just witnessing the changes that are taking place in your country. You are the makers of future India. You are the makers of India of today and tomorrow. I hope each one of you here has this sense of pride. Each one of you will contribute to this making of a new culture in your own country. The making of a country in which you will be proud to live fearlessly, with respect and and dignity. I think I understand the seriousness on your face, the solemn look that now you have on your face. The realization must have dawned upon you.